Okay, sorry, YouTube was a little persnickety there. I'm going to start the webinar now, and so we're already recording, and we're recording now also in the cloud. And the attendees are now joining us to observe if they're there. I'm not sure. Actually, I don't see them here yet, so I don't know. If you're okay, Public Works is the first committee that I have up. Mr. Gore, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm ready whenever you are, Steve.
Okay, let me go into the manager's update. I have just a brief comment from Three Rivers Wet Weather. I gave you their latest update for April, and they're noting that they have formed two separate working groups, one for separate sanitary systems and one for the combined sewer systems. And they're working again on the consent orders, finalizing them, and because each group has consent orders are going to be a little different. That's the reason why there's two working groups. So they've encouraging us to attend. I don't always attend these meetings because the engineer usually does. Glenn is almost always there with a few minor exceptions, but I have started attending these a little bit more often now because we're getting closer with this consent decree information. I know there's a couple meetings coming up this month, and so I may be doing them from home, or you may not. You may come to the office, and I may not be available if I'm doing them here. I don't know, but in any case, we are taking care of that, and we'll let you know as we get some final information. I know they've been meeting with solicitors, I believe, too, for language and everything. So this is all separate, of course, from the regionalization stuff, although that's certainly going to be incorporated into all this too. But the consent decree is a little separate. In any case, you can read the rest of that from them. I don't have anything else to comment on unless you have a question for me.
I have a question. Are we are a combined sewer, or are we?
No, we're separate.
We're separate.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have a question? By the way, just before I relinquish, I'm fighting a headache, so I appreciate your patience tonight. I may come across as a little, I don't know, on edge. It hurts. So I don't mean to be that way. I apologize in advance if I come on a little bit strong with some things here, but in any case, I appreciate it. Mr. Gore, that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Steve, for that update. Dave, do you want to give your report?
Yes, thank you. Nothing really new on the MS4 detention pond project. We're still waiting for the DEP permit. With the way DEP acts on permits, that could take up to 9 months. The 2021 paving bids were opened on March 24th, and the bid results were attached to my report. The low bid was from A. Liberoni Contracting at $316,613.30. Liberoni does good paving work. We also had 5 bid alternates for 4 streets and 1 for the access path from Fillmore to the pickleball court in Cook Park. The borough's budget is $310, so we're pretty close to that amount. And I'm recommending the committee award and council award the contract to A. Liberoni for the base bid, and to strongly consider adding alternate 5. That would make a total of $317,698.30. And I believe Jim and I talked about this and kind of agreed that it's a good time to do that pathway. The paving crew will be right there, and I believe your price is better because we're doing the pickleball court at the same time.
Mr. Gore, if I can interrupt Mr. Gillen for a second. I'm sorry, Dave. Either I missed your bid results, or I did not give them to council yet. So because of that, obviously you're not going to vote until the 21st anyway.
Right.
I'll make sure I have them on the committee of the whole if I did get them and just missed it. And if not, I'll get them from Dave and have them on committee of the whole so you can see them there. I apologize.
Okay, yeah,
for that.
I didn't send them. I apologize. I thought that
may have been me. May have been me.
Dave, Dave, do you have the agenda up in front of you?
No.
With the streets that, okay, I was just going to run through the streets. I didn't know, is Cascade Road, well, Cascade Road was included in that 316,000 or no?
Let me pull it up here. Which road are you
Or is
asking
this
about?
316 for their bid and then we have to pay 48,000 to the water company as well?
Right, correct. Correct.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
see what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
you're right.
Patty,
You're right. That's
Patty
my
and
mistake.
Steve,
Yeah, we're paying 48,000 for Cascade. I did not include that. So
so
yeah, I guess
Steve, yeah, Steve, would that be something that we can swing this year, or should we deduct one of maybe the only one I really see on there is either Avenue A or Fairview that are the highest closest, or Norway, Fairview, or Avenue A. If we can't swing the 48,000 as well for the Cascade Road.
I wouldn't recommend leading Norway. That's in pretty bad shape.
Okay, so not Norway then.
No, not Norway. Fairview or Avenue A would be my recommendation if you had to delete to account for Cascade.
Okay. So just something we will have to look at maybe in finance. Steve, if you want to maybe make note of this on finance, or even just leave it for committee of the whole.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I was sharing my screen, I had been muted, it wouldn't let me unmute. I believe we can swing that because although I want to double check with Mr. Gilliland after I look at some things, but we carried over more money than I had first estimated in the budget. So assuming there was no leftover costs that weren't accounted for back in January when Wendy gave me that number of what the carryover was, we should have no problem covering all of that. So I don't think we need to delete anything, but let me double check with Dave. After I double check with Wendy, I want to make sure there's no outstanding bills, Dave, and things like that. If we could just talk later this week, that'd be great. And then I'll let you know also, committee of the whole, along with getting a copy of the full bid package, if that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we should be all right on that, I think.
I think the only thing else on there, Dave, is the Fall Run Interceptor project, which obviously Steve touched on with the Three Rivers wet weather update as well. But do you have anything else to add to that?
Dave, you're on mute.
No, you're still muted, Dave. I'm not sure what's going on.
On my end, I'm not muted.
There you go.
There you
There you
Oh,
go.
there we go.
All right. The Fall Run Interceptor project is what we have to do in order for Alcosan to take over that line. And Mr. Ziskow is handling that on my staff, and he has set up a meeting to discuss the preparation of the memorandum of understanding between the 7 towns that are involved in the project, and that is scheduled for April 14th.
That's
That
been
is with,
changed. That's been changed, Dave, to the 21st.
okay, I wasn't aware of that.
I wrote that when I noticed it, I wrote it on the handout there. So.
And Steve Corver will be there representing the borough too.
Do you know what time that meeting is, Dave?
I do not.
We haven't set it up yet. It's probably going to be 10 a.m.
Okay. I can let you know, Patty.
Yes, please. If it's 10 a.m., I can't come, but if it's a different time, I can.
Okay. I'll let you know what it is.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for Dave from anyone? Okay, Jimmy, you want to give your report?
Sure. I got my list of projects for April. If you got any questions, just read them over and let me know. The only other thing I have, item number 2, I had talked to Steve and then we both talked to Wendy, and I wanted to request to hire 2 new crew members full-time to bring my public works staff back up to 9 people total. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up to you and ask permission to maybe start the process on that.
Yeah, I don't foresee an issue with that. Does anyone else, Bill or Jack, do you have an issue with, advertising for, two new hires?
Bill, you're muted. Bill Burley. You're still muted, Bill.
Yeah,
There you go.
No, I don't have.
that sounds good to me. Sounds great. Let's do that.
Okay, thank you. Patty, did you have something to say as well?
I just had a question. Do you have diversity and inclusion goals in your hiring objectives?
We
Well-
always, oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead, Steve.
We always say that we are, I forget what the language is exactly, but that we do not discriminate with race, color, et cetera, in hiring practices. We always have that in our job descriptions or as a policy. I mean, so that's, yeah.
Do you have an active outreach process?
No, I mean, I don't know what exactly we do. I mean, I just think small towns like us, it makes it a little bit more difficult to do things like that. I don't know. I mean, to have some kind of advocacy thing. I mean, I certainly encourage anybody that wants to submit it. You saw my note on there. If you know of anybody, have them fill out an application. Please don't tell us. And I'm saying that for a couple of reasons, but one of them would include that. Don't tell us if you have somebody you want to recommend. So have them submit an application, and then we will interview them and let you know. I don't really want somebody recommending somebody anyway, because that's a different kind of pressure. If you want to do that, then the hiring is going to be up to you and not me. I'm not gonna get involved in that again. But please, the job application is on the website. What we usually do is also put the job description on there. And I know Angela's probably paying attention on the meeting here, but I will give him that. I'm sure he doesn't have it set up, but we'll give him the ad and the job description. It'll be on the website. If anybody wants to contact us to get a job description, certainly we would do that. I just don't want people contacting us about the job. They need to fill out an application. If they have a resume of some kind, that's certainly fine, but we always request an application in addition to a resume. If they have that, they don't have to have the resume, or they don't have to have a letter of interest necessarily either. So I'll talk with Jimmy and we'll try to get some kind of ideas to time and all that, but we should be okay otherwise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all I really have, unless somebody has any questions.
Dave, Steve, if you want to mark this down, Dave Gillian said that we could advertise in the Pittsburgh Courier also to encourage diversity. So maybe you could get with Dave and figure out exactly what that is.
It's a newspaper. It's a newspaper that is targeted towards the minority communities.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I mean, I don't know if they actively publish anymore, but I know they're on the website. I know they're on the internet. I know that they are active.
They do publish a newspaper also.
Oh, do they?
Yes,
Okay.
I've seen it at the Giant Eagle.
So yeah, we could certainly advertise there too. That's not a problem. I would put something in the Post Gazette if you don't have a problem with that. That's going to be more expensive, but that's probably going to give us a wider range of possible candidates. From what I hear from other people trying to hire public works, there aren't a lot of people out there looking for those jobs right now. I don't know why, but that's what I've heard. I hope that's not true.
If I can help a little bit, and perhaps offline, this mention of outreach involves a lot of legal issues, and there may be some ways to do it without spending as much money in the Post Gazette and still perhaps achieve goals. So I'd be willing to help with that if you'd like offline.
Any suggestions, Jack? Yeah, let us know. That's great.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue, and just putting in the Post Gazette is quite expensive and probably does not meet any true outreach goals, as Ms. Councilperson DeMarco suggested. So there may be other ways to do it and be more inclusive and actually spend less money.
Okay, well, yeah, give us some more information later, Jack. That's certainly fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll catch up with you and we'll talk about it if that's okay with the committee.
yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, I guess my thing is just the widest reach. I mean, I mean, I know that we struggle whenever we look for police officers as well. So when we advertise these things, I just think that when we advertise in the Valley Mirror, our reach isn't really that wide. So
Yeah.
advertising
Yeah.
in something like the Post Gazette is a little bit wider. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem exploring Jack's options. But if we need to also post in the Post Gazette, I do not have an issue with that.
Okay.
And I believe that's everything, unless if anyone else has any other issues that need to be raised. Nope, that's all, Steve. That ends my committee.
Okay, I will need a few seconds to
Excuse me,
switch over
before you,
now to-
Steve, before you
Yeah.
start, I just have one question for Dave. I'm sharing here with Jimmy. Dave, that MS4 detention pond, that goes back, what, that's over 4 years ago that I proposed that? I know we were down at the
I'm
old
not sure if
building.
it was 4 years or 3, but yes, that's what you proposed, yes.
Okay, and everything is still in place? We got the $150,000 grant?
Yes, that grant's good for 2 years, and we're coming up on the 1st-year anniversary of it, so we still have some time.
Okay, that's when you put in for the grant
Yes,
2 years ago. But it
Well-
actually goes,
yes, that's when we put in for the grant. Yeah, it took about a year to get approval.
okay, but it actually goes back almost 4 years because I know that it was proposed, I did it down at the old building. We were down there when the
Yes.
proposal was made.
Yes,
Okay, and that's going to save us 150,000?
that's correct.
Okay,
And
thank
that'll
you.
put us in compliance. That one project will put us in compliance for the entire 5-year permit
Good, okay, thank you.
for that issue, yes.
Okay, again, I need a few minutes, then we'll discuss where we're going next.
Yeah.
Or a few seconds, actually.
I just put that on. Well, we're both vaccinated. Yep. Okay, and we both passed the time frame.
Yep. I'm going on like 4 weeks.
Okay, I'm back. What do you want to do? Do you want to
I
skip
would
over
be happy
borough
to do
property?
public safety first, so Tom can
Um,
get in time.
Let me see here. Jack and, well, Tom's also on that committee. He's not here for that. That's not a problem as far as anybody's concerned. Mayor and Bill, you're okay. Bill,
Yeah, that's
Tomasic,
fine.
you're okay with that?
That's fine. Mhm.
Okay,
Oh, I'm gonna be on them.
both bills, everybody's fine. Okay, let me get my public safety minutes or agenda up here.
That's fine. I'm glad we got that connection.
Okay, I'm good to go if you're okay with public safety.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, I have a couple of items to update you on. First, the county has sent us information on their new, what do you call it? Not new, I guess it's revised hazard mitigation plan. And if you remember, this was a few years back, and Keith Morris was a part of this as well, too, as our emergency management coordinator. And we approved a resolution back, I don't know how many years, approving the original plan. That keeps us in the mix. If you read the note from Bob Girl, actually I attached to your notes here, that keeps us in the mix for assistance whenever there is a disaster of some kind. So to be a part of that, we have to approve a resolution. And I attached the wording of the resolution to your agenda if you want to take a look at that. Actually, let me pull it up here on the screen. That's not it. There it is. The resolution is right there. Everybody see that? That's a draft of the language we would use. And again, if you want to be a part of the plan, whenever there's a disaster, you need to approve this. There is plenty of time, though. We can approve that at the meeting on the 21st. If everyone's okay with that, there's no objection. I assume there isn't.
Was Steve Probel involved with that resolution draft, or did he okay?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Did Steve Corbell see that draft?
No, he didn't, but I did run it past Keith Morris.
Okay.
It's pretty standard language. I mean, when I say no, he didn't, he got a copy of this, of these minutes. So I don't know, this agenda rather. Did he look at it yet? I don't know. But he did get a copy of this in there, so. Okay, is that all right with everybody?
I'm just wondering if we should take it to committee of the whole with Steve Corbell being there, because if he's fine with it.
Well, I mean, you're not gonna be able to change the language. Either you do it as it is, or you
Right.
don't approve the hazard mitigation plan. So it's, if he finds something wrong with it, I you know,
Yeah, but I would like to discuss it with him present, so we should put it on committee of the whole, I guess.
okay.
Because
Let
I
me just
can
make a
read it,
note-
but I don't
let me
really.
make a note of that.
What does a hazard mitigation plan entail?
That's exactly my question. I think
Yeah.
Steve will be able to answer that question.
Natural
probably
and human
Keith
made.
Morris would be a better person to talk with than Steve Corbell, to be honest. But I don't know if he's available that night or not. I'm just,
Yeah, could you ask him? We can maybe put it first. Just that,
Keith, ask
Morris,
Keith,
yeah.
you're saying? Sure.
Or
He
did-
already did, I did send him a copy of this too, and he said, yes, this is something we should approve, just so you know. So, so Keith Morris has also seen this and is aware.
Did the county
it-
give any definitions with that? Of what?
I sent out a copy of the plan in an email to you, I believe, I want to say late last week or Thursday of last week or so, just after I got it. It's long, it's 100 and some pages, 160 pages long, I think, the plan. So I did email that to everybody. If you didn't get it, let me know. Send me an email back tomorrow or later, and I will send it out again. But I did email the copy of the plan to you. Okay. This is just something that recently came up. It's not like I haven't had it for months. But
I'm not saying anything. I just would like to get someone's opinion on it.
no, sure,
It looks
that's
routine.
fine. I'm just saying I did send it out.
All right, sounds good.
But Mr. Mayor,
So I think what we should do, just as a committee, is schedule a phone conference with Keith to walk us through it sometime early next week. Give us some time to digest the document and understand, the salient points of it. But my understanding is that this is it's just a boilerplate document that basically mirrors the county's emergency plan that we would just adopt for our own town.
It
And at
sounds
that
like
point,
routine, but yeah. It
But
makes
I
sense.
mean, it would be better for us to review that with Keith and not necessarily our solicitor, because it more goes over the step-by-step points of an emergency, right?
I'll see if Keith's available to be on the Zoom meeting next week. as
That would be
well.
perfect.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome. Item B, fire truck purchase status. We've applied for the lease purchase loan, and we've sent the PO for the fire truck out, just so you know. It's possible the lender may ask us for a separate resolution endorsing the motion you made to approve the purchase of the truck as a technicality. If that's the case, likely it's okay to do that on the 21st, that resolution. We're checking with them to see if we can just submit a copy of the minutes once they're approved, which they'd prefer. So just so you're aware of that, that might be a motion on the 21st if that's the case for our resolution. I just don't know. You've already approved it, but the lender wants something more. And since the minutes haven't been approved yet, that's why they may request a resolution, since we have to wait until the minutes are approved anyway. So we're trying to track that down to see which way they want us to go. The last item I have is something that could also be on borough property, but I stuck it here, a crosswalk grant. We found this source here, and I'm not sure if it's something that we can do ourselves, or if this has to come from an organization like the Neighborhood Crime Resistance or somebody like that, or maybe from the people doing the WalkWorks grant stuff. But America Walks is a organization that is giving away a rectangular rapid flashing beacon set for to provide for a crosswalk. And I did attach what that looks like to your agenda, but essentially I'm putting it on the screen now. It's a solar powered crosswalk that provides you with an emergency flashing light. I've seen these down at Duquesne University on Forbes. I'm sure they're elsewhere as well. Somebody pushes the button, gets into the crosswalk. It has this light flash, so traffic stops. Now there is some criteria here. You can't just put this anywhere. It has to be on a place that's not that where a crosswalk would go, but where it's not currently active. And so I talked to Dave, I talked to Jimmy about where in the borough we might put it. And my suggestion is the one they agreed with, and that was at the entrance to the park roadway, the main park roadway. It could also go, of course, at the entrance to the pool parking lot roadway. I believe that those two areas fit the criteria they've given us. You can read the criteria. I'm not going to go over all of it there for you, but they're giving this to us for free. We'd have to supply the poles. We'd have to install it. And of course, because it's solar powered, it would not require a hookup. There is a hookup version attached to that as well on the second page of the handout that you see attached to your agenda. But this, again, this is brand new. I just found out about this. I don't have a lot of details, but I wanted to see if this was worth it from your point of view, pursuing this further. I wasn't able to talk to Chuck today, but I did, like I said, talk to Jim and Dave Gillen briefly. Any thoughts on that?
I think
you have to read this, but
I think you picked a good spot, and it's free. Why shouldn't we do it? So I think it's with a big main park entrance. I think it's a perfect location. Jack, do you have any opinion?
Yeah, the only thought I would have is, we're talking about the park entrance right off Braddock Road.
yes.
My only concern with using it there is you're only about 3 car lengths off the boulevard. So if a car starts stopping unexpectedly and a couple people take that turn, that could be a little bit of a problem. I would think maybe the pool entrance would be a little safer.
Well,
because
the
we're
reason
so
why
short of.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all. Just a
The
thought.
reason why I suggested that is because I frequently have seen people when I'm out, well, I don't walk down there that much anymore because we're up here now, but when I would walk down there, we frequently see even during the week, during the day, people coming across there right at the parking lot entrance from across Braddock and not crossing at the corner. And of course, during Community Day, when we have that, we always have that as an issue, although that would be one of those things where you'd have an awful lot more people crossing at the time.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I suggested that. But it's
That's fine.
Either way, if you want me to apply for they have to approve the location too, by the way. They wouldn't just do it. And again, like I said, I'm not sure if we can apply for it or if it has to be either an organization like Crime Resistance or perhaps the folks that are working on our WalkWorks grant. I don't know. Patty, this actually came from Carol in an email that came out early this morning. You may have seen it, and I read through it and found this as the 6th or 7th option. If you want to look at it further and give me some suggestions too as to who might be able to handle this.
The steering committee is meeting tomorrow evening. We might want to ask the steering committee to weigh in on this since they're meeting tomorrow night.
I'll try to remember to email that to them.
Yeah.
Then, does anybody else have any thoughts? Okay, then just one other item other than the outstanding item I have on there. Just an FYI, the health department is providing us with kits to protect people from ticks, especially for communities that have wooded areas, that have pathways and trails through those wooded areas. So I did ask them to provide me with some that we can eventually distribute one location or another. I said I told them too, if we have Community Day, I'm not sure if that's going or not, but if it is going, that would be an excellent place to distribute those. Just give them to somebody in one of the booths. I don't know what booths will be set up if we do that, but they're free, and certainly might as well take advantage of that. And they said they could provide me with several hundred of them. So I am going to get an initial supply now, and I'll have them available in a few weeks, and we'll make sure that that people are aware of them, that we have them. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. Next, we have the utility and other bills from the fire department. To me, it's just a monthly routine stuff. Jack, do you have anything to say about it?
No, nothing.
All right, so it's approved. Next, EMS report, which is attached. Oh no, it was not attached. So it's not. So chief's report.
Ready for me?
Yeah.
Okay. First, just in regards to that crosswalk sign, I think maybe even Dave Gillen might want to look at that location. I think Jack has a valid point there about coming around the bend situation. You may want to look at that just to be sure that that's going to be a functional and safe situation to put that light. Because I'm sure at least with that kind of system being in play there, people will actually really pay attention and stop when they see those lights flashing. I've seen those before. They are very bright and they do get your attention. They're a very effective system. So maybe Dave Gillen may want to look at that site to make sure that's a really good choice. And again, that second choice is not a bad one either. There's plenty of space there. Secondly, I've noticed some activity
Hang on.
lately.
Do you have any other ideas, maybe? Any other locations you think?
No, I like those locations because, again, when we have people going to the park, it's not just going to be adults. There's going to be children. There's going to be carriages. There's going to be dogs. You're looking at a lot of different people who, it would be nice to have a really clear path and not have to be so concerned about a car blasting through there. Those things really do provide a lot of light. They really get your attention. So that would be a great asset to have down in that area. As I was saying, I've noticed a little activity lately in our future project up on the Ardmore, and I just wanted to put out a little warning. I know that I think Steve probably has more information than I do now about the state and when they may or may not be coming in here to do this job at the end of the Ardmore by Bevington and all the way down to Lenox. But I've seen some people from the state up there. They've been, looking over the situation. They've been trying to figure out their plan, I think, and that means that it won't be long. And I know that they'd rather do this and start this project in the summer, that they're going to be out there sooner or later. And it's going to be very interesting to have to deal with this project. I mean, the last one was lengthy and difficult. This one's going to be probably a little more difficult and a little more lengthy. So I just want to put that out there ahead of time to get people's attention and start getting them thinking about that, because it will cause some disruption in traffic from Ardmore to the Parkway, for example.
Can I comment real quick?
Yeah.
There is information on our website. I would encourage anybody who may be paying attention to this on YouTube or anywhere else to look at our website. It's going to be a mess from down in Wilkinsburg near Channel 4 all the way up to at least Lenox and maybe Yost. I'm not sure exactly. It's going to be a mess when they do this. And it does describe it somewhat in that information that was provided to us on the internet. So please make sure you take a look at that. I know everybody on council did get a copy of that as well a few months back. That's all. Sorry.
Like I said, my only concern is I've actually seen some of the people up there starting to do a little looking around. They've been measuring. They've been, they're out there. That means they're probably planning on doing something soon or within the next month or two. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chuck. I don't think we have anyone of other chiefs here. So next.
What about Jim?
He had his hand up.
Oh, Jim. Oh, yeah. Sorry. You're muted. Jim, you're muted. I think I may be.
All right. How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Sorry, I forgot about you.
Okay. Chuck, from what I understand, I talked to somebody from PennDOT about 3 weeks ago, and they had sent some information out, so I had some questions. And he called me back because I left him a message. From what I understand, because of the COVID situation, they're in a little bit of a money crunch. They are not going to do anything this year other than maybe late fall, early winter. They're going to start some utility work. Then next spring, that'll be spring of 2022, they're going to do the 3 culvert projects. And then the paving will not happen until spring of 2023. Now that's what he told me. So I have the guy's name and
So we have a reprieve then for at least a little while.
yes.
Do you have anything about the department? Since you're here?
I think you froze there for a second, Marcus.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, I was wondering if Jimmy has anything about the fire department.
Yeah, I just have one thing as far as coming from the whole fire department membership. I would just like to thank everybody on Borough Council for purchasing our new ladder truck for us. That'll be a major asset in helping us protect our town and some of the other towns when we call in for help, like they come in to help us. So that's all.
All right, thank you.
Could you explain the ISO evaluation report between?
I think
Bob and-
That's Bill Tomasic who's talking.
Okay.
It's coming next. We don't have EMS present, so Bill Tomasic, you're next. With the
Okay,
ISO.
thank you, Marcus. You can see there is a sheet attached to back from the ISO information number 4. And first off, I would like to explain that this ISO is associated with fire suppression. They are not public. So there's no way that you can get these from any website, except what happened was Mount Lebanon put theirs out on the website. And then, of course, we have access to our own. So these are the only 2 that I found that we could compare. And I did that specifically so that everybody would get a better understanding of what this is. To some extent, the ISO is used by the insurance company. Some people say, well, it matters. Others say, well, it's just one of many, many factors. Some research led me to find out that there were, based upon some analysis, that most of the communities have either a 3 or a 4. And that's the average. It's the majority of places across the state of Pennsylvania. Of course, Mount Lebanon here is showing that they have a number 1, and the only one in the area that has it. And so I felt that it would be worthwhile to find out why they could get a 1, and then we would be in the 4 range. And if you go through the chart, you will see that, for example, the first one on reporting, we're close. They have a 63%. We have a 71, which means we're even higher. The fire department itself, that's one that's very difficult to analyze unless you know the differences between the fire departments. So you can see the numbers are relatively the same going down through there. But there's one big difference in terms of company personnel. And that is that the fire company in Mount Lebanon is paid, and it's a hybrid with volunteers. So they have people at the station 24/7. So they're probably gonna, somebody like that is somebody, we're not gonna be able to get to that level unless you have a professional fire company. That's another one that stands out. But the one that really got me was the water supply. And on that one, you can see that Mount Lebanon is at 99.2% and we're at 54.1. So again, doing some investigation, I found out that we have a gravity-fed system, and because of that, you're never going to be able to increase the pressure to some of these hydrants. Now, Dave spoke about the flow, but still you're not going to get that pressure up because we don't have any type of system that's going to pump it, as I'm thinking that they must have in Mount Lebanon, some type of regulators, which pushes that out. So if you take the water supply and you just switch those, Mount Lebanon's going to drop probably to at least a 2, possibly a 3. And if you give us that, we're going to go up to at least a 3, maybe a 2. So that one number in there is totally misleading, in my opinion, when you're talking about fire suppression, because that's an uncontrollable. We can't do anything about that. So that's what I wanted to make sure everybody understood, because it took me months to figure out what this ISO was and what people were talking about and what it actually meant. Because some people have an idea that they want to promote about this fire suppression thing. And, you know, unless you have, for example, Swissvale, they have a professional fire department as well. It's a hybrid system, okay? And we don't have that. So that being said, if anybody has any questions, Jimmy's here and we went through that together, so that I don't know if he can answer them or I can answer them for you, but if you have a question, I'll be glad to try to answer it. None being, that moves me on to the next item, Marcus, number 6, fire safety. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yes. Can I go there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the chief and I sat down and went over this. And when we got down to the community risk reduction, we got into a fairly long discussion about this. And as you can see, we're at they're at 96% and we're at 69. So we were working on this, brainstorming, I guess, and saying, well, what could we do to increase prevention, education, to get risk reduction? So, Jim, correct me, you know, we talked about that. So when we put out our billing for the fire, the payment, that we could possibly put some kind of notification in there about using smoke detectors. I think there was one in the flyer as well, in the last one. But we could add things like battery checks. A lot of people have smoke detectors, but they don't have working batteries. That's a very, very common problem when you talk about reports on fires. So maybe we could do something in that area to increase the awareness. You should check them annually. We could possibly use our Swift Reach, and maybe in October, which is Fire Prevention Month, and put that up. We could promote the 10-year batteries systems as opposed to the regular ones that they basically run out in maybe a year and a half and need to be replaced. And for some people, that's not a simple task, especially if you have 3 or 4 of them. All right. And then what batteries do you keep around? What do you have available? And, you know, when do you get to the store to get it, replace it, and put it in? So that could be something else we could promote. We talked about fire extinguishers. I did a presentation on that. That would be something else. I know for a fact people have never used fire extinguishers and don't know how to use them, and they would be useless in a fire because of simply the fact that nobody's.
Bill, you went muted again. I'll come over.
Okay, am I on now?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. So we were talking about maybe some fire extinguisher demonstrations that we could have people come maybe to the fire hall and the fire department could work on that. Safety checks, maybe put a flyer out and encourage people to check these items every year, have a check off. Maybe something comes back to the borough. We can assess that, maybe do some surveys. Patty, did you want to say something?
I think she just did something unrelated.
Okay. Jim, you want to?
I'm having illumination issues. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Do I push anything? No, it's okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, Bill and I were talking about all these things that he talked about there, and yeah, I think it's a good idea. So
Yeah, I like all of them. Maybe actually Community Day, if it's going to happen, we could do something there. You have like some fire extinguisher demos and things like that. You know, like you have a little controlled fire and people have to put it out or something like that. Maybe we could do something like that on Community Day. The kids would like it, probably.
yeah, sure. I agree. I think that if people actually used a fire extinguisher or saw somebody using it, that would just give it a tremendous amount of understanding to it. Okay,
like
and then I think too, if we had a booth or something like that, as I said, the last time that I went out, I got tired of changing those batteries myself. And I went out and bought the 10-year battery. So, you know, I don't have to worry about that, getting up on a stool or on a ladder. Some of these older people, that would be a difficult thing for them to do.
But the combination of all those ideas, Community Day, website, October, call, all that stuff would be good.
Okay. All right. Well, that's basically it. Jim, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, no, that's all.
We did get some information from a company with promotional.
Oh, yeah. We had sent for some stuff, and we got some promotional stuff that we're gonna look at here. So
Okay. Maybe they would participate at the Community Day. Sounds good.
And I'm just going to give all these ideas to Jim, and then he's going to work with the fire department to try to put something together. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you for
All
all the
right.
work.
Thank you very much.
That was our last agenda item. Jack, do you have anything for public safety or anyone else?
I'd just like to note the Walksworks, the walking grant, the steering committee is meeting tomorrow evening. And any of you who haven't done your map interface to identify areas of concern, I would encourage you to do that. We're going to be continuing to collect that information through the end of the month.
Can you do us a favor and maybe send out the link again? I know you did it already, but
Sure.
just that it's fresh in my email. Thank you. Okay, I think that's it for public safety.
Okay, I need a few seconds, then do you want to go to borough property now that Tom's here? Is that okay?
Sure, whatever.
Give me a few seconds to get something done here. Hold on. Okay, I'm good. Do you prefer borough property or ops and policy? Mr. Thielacker, are you present?
We can do. I'm ready. Doesn't matter to me.
So borough property,
We do borough property.
okay. Okay, Tom and Jimmy, Bill and Jimmy, we can hear you talking, so.
Okay.
Just so you know. All right, borough property, manager's update, a few announcements, a few things to let you know about. Security update, the Forest Hills Westinghouse Lodge has full security now with the 6 cameras and keypads. The chief and I were over there and got some basic training, and then Cindy was there for an extended period of time getting further training on how it works. You would access the building, in this case, with a 5-digit code. And she will have one available for council members and the mayor, once everything is final with her training. The chief and I reviewed the setup, the cameras, and chief and I agreed that we probably need 2 other cameras up there. So we're looking at getting those installed and done. One that will show the parking lot across Barclay better. This one hardly, the one that's there now hardly shows it at all. We think that would be an advantage. And another one that shows the driveway area going back toward the where the dumpsters are. So we're working on that. But essentially, it's pretty much ready to go. The system works pretty well. And if anybody is interested in taking a look at it, please contact Cindy. She'll be able to let you know that. And if you do want to have a code to access the building, you have to go through her anyway, of course. But if you do need to access the building, you should have your own code rather than one generic code for everybody. So that way, because we can identify who's using it that way. The public works garage camera system, that's kind of in a state of suspended animation right now because the person who was handling that has left SSA. And so we now need to get somebody new from SSA, and Jim is aware of that. Cindy is aware of that as well, and she's going to help us get his replacement down to the garage so that we can get those cameras installed. If you recall, when we had the original building, the old municipal building down there, we did have cameras all around there. And of course, that was cut whenever we moved up here where I am now. So we're going to work on that. We'll let you know. I'm assuming there's no questions on that. If anybody has any, just stop me. I'm going to keep going. LED streetlights, I talked to Duquesne Light at the last meeting. I believe you said it was okay to do all of the lights on Fillmore if they would go for that, not just 10. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was the consensus. So they're willing to consider us doing all lights along Fillmore. I had Jim double check that for me because they have to be contiguous. That would also include the lights on Watt and Tanglewood because they go off of Fillmore and then back onto Fillmore. That's how those lights are on Watt Lane and Tanglewood. So we'd have to do those. He did check the other streets, and there is no other lights that are attached in that circuit. So we could do all of Fillmore if you want. That would be a total of 26 lights. We typically do the highest wattage for the LED that's available. That's what we've done before. I'm going to do that again too if there's no objection. We have to get the information on the poll numbers and everything. As you know, we do have that list. I showed that to you. I think I actually gave it to you a few weeks ago. And I gave Jim a copy of the list. He's going to have somebody or himself check the poll numbers so we can, because Duquesne Light wants a little bit more specific information as to location of the polls and what they have on their own list. I don't understand that exactly, but that's what they want. So he's going to double check that. We have to submit that by June. So it will definitely be submitted in plenty of time, and I'll let you know. But take a look at what I have written there in case you have any objection to any of that information. The third item I have, dog waste stations. Alcosan is giving away 3 free dog waste stations, and so we're taking advantage of that and getting them. Jim's going to go down and pick them up, I believe this coming Friday or next Friday. I forget which now. I think this Friday. And we're going to put one at Avenue L Park, and there's a couple other locations he has for them. You may have already seen some around here and there. We do have one, for example, up behind me here in the parking lot at the Rec Lodge. And people have been using it. When I go out for my walks up here, I do see people with dogs using it. So that's great. There'll be 2 other locations. We'll put them and they're free. I already mentioned about the free tick kits under public safety, I believe. I think I did. Yeah, I mentioned them somewhere. I don't remember where now. And we already did talk about the crosswalk grant. If nobody has any other questions about any of that stuff I have on my list, I'm done.
I just wanted to note that our electricity bill for streetlights is about $79,000 a year. And when we get all of the streetlights converted over to LED, make that about a third. It'll reduce it by about 2/3. So it's a significant expenditure that we're dealing with here. It's worth doing.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, thanks, Steve. It's one of the rec board items. I have more than a couple items we can talk about real quick and get some things figured out for the summer season. The first thing is what we're going to do with the pool. We've already kind of talked about the swim team, and they're planning on moving forward as normal as possible. With following whatever the current guidelines are. The ESA, the Swim Association, they're planning on trying to have meets. With following all the guidelines as long as that's possible. So with the restrictions kind of being lifted, and they're hoping as the summer moves forward, lift even more, that they'll be able to do that. So with that moving forward, the Synchro team, I believe, is going to do the same thing. They're going to, get organized. They're going to practice, and hope they'll be able to go ahead as close to normal as possible. The other thing, when you talk about the pool itself, is though, Cindy said with us following the current guidelines, we can have 200 people in the pool at a time. And that's following the current regulations. So we need to figure out if we're going to allow sponsorships again this year. We pretty much need to decide that tonight or very shortly thereafter, because now is the time of year where people start paying, people start sponsoring other families. And if with 200 people, we talked at the rec board meeting last night, and there was kind of a little bit of a split on if we're at 200 people, is that a high enough number where we can plan on opening as normal? And, if we just keep counting, if we get to 200 people at one time, and we had to say, no one else can get in until some people leave. That's a kind of high number to reach, at one time. Or we want to do the same system as last year. And this is also looking forward to these regulations probably being rolled back even further, as we get into summer. So kind of what do we want to do about that? Anybody have any questions for you on that issue?
Yeah, I have a comment. I think the 200 number is pretty high, and maybe during the week, it's fine. And during weekends, maybe we can have like 2 sessions if we really exceed the 200, that we kick out people who come early, like we start kicking out people rather than having people staying the whole Saturday from noon to whatever. Maybe we can have because the booking system, I think it's too complicated to maintain for 200 people. It's something easier that the people who came first, they need to leave first if we exceed the number on the weekend. Something like that. Something easy to handle.
Yeah, that's something we can definitely tell Cindy to explore potentially. Lynn said on their busiest of days 2 summers ago, we had 400 some people, but that was throughout the entire day.
Yes.
Not at one time.
So that's why I think 200 people, we don't need booking or anything like that, like we did last year.
Yeah, that was my thought, to at least move forward with no booking, and then, kind of play it by ear as the year progresses.
But maybe we could just be tough, if we reach the 200, which we won't reach every weekend anyway, we just done. People have to wait. I don't know.
That's going to be tough though, right? So I would say that what we probably should do is just have a meeting with Keith to talk through it. Unfortunately, a lot of these decisions are driven by the actual numbers as released by the county, right? And as numbers as cases kind of spike or drop, that kind of drives the decision. There is nothing that prevents us from increasing that number as the summer progresses, right? So as more people are vaccinated and numbers drop, we can continue to drop those numbers. I'm sorry, increase the numbers in terms of attendance to the pool.
Yeah, definitely.
Tom?
Yep.
Okay, listen, I think that the interested parties in that should get together per the mayor's suggestion and hash that out rather than trying to do that here in committee. You know, Keith's our representative, and when we do anything, we have to run it by him for his okay. That's the emergency declaration and then our policy that we put into place. So that, you know, even with the building here and everything, Mr. Morris and I discussed it with Keith and ran everything by him a year ago when we put everything into place, and now we're doing it again. Okay, so because he's our rep and we have to basically understand that he's getting that information and then he's giving it to us and telling us that that is where we should be. The only thing that I would like to ask about this situation here is, you brought up about the sponsorship. Can we get that? We got everybody here. Does anybody want to make a recommendation as to what we should do? I don't care one way or the other. I will defer to the majority of who makes the decision or who wants to make the decision.
Can I say something? Can I say something? Being a pool member myself, and again, we talked about the 200 number rarely gets exceeded. I think we can use the added revenue and we should go with it. We should go ahead with that sponsorship.
Yeah, Marcus, those are kind of my thoughts too. With the meeting last night, we talked, it was kind of split. But I think, you know, if we think we're gonna be on the higher end of the amount of people we can let in, you know, hopefully it would sound like there wouldn't be an issue with the sponsorship program. We could move forward with that. That's my opinion, at least as well.
May I?
Yeah. Oh, that was on my question.
I am very unfamiliar with that. My only suggestion would be to have a kind of a risk plan that if things would go haywire somewhere in the summer and people had spent the money on their sponsorships, we would know how to address it if we had to back off. That's all.
Well, is anybody opposed to having a sponsorship? Because if not, then you could move ahead. And then, as Jack said, you could have a plan in place. So if things do go south, you could have a refund or whatever the case might be. And they should be aware of that up front, if that's what you decide. So
I don't think we did. I don't think we had something like that last year. I think it was at risk, but yeah, we could have something like that.
It was just a suggestion.
Yeah.
I'm not promoting it. So all I'm saying is, if that's where you guys want to go with the sponsorship, I would say, let's go in that direction and make that decision now. So if nobody's opposed to it.
We should do it. Yeah.
I agree.
Agree. All right. So Tom, you have your answer there from the council.
All right, thank you. What do I got next? On the swim team, I guess, Steve, you might want to get with Cindy. I guess they asked for a third assistant coach or a second assistant coach to make it 3 coaches this year, especially if they're actually going to have the team. I think we discussed this a few months ago when they originally requested it. I don't think anyone had a problem with it. I just wanted to bring it up again because I guess nothing had been done yet. And I guess the swim team head coach kind of wasn't sure what was going on.
Are you asking me?
I think that got put in the budget too. I didn't get a chance to look at it.
I don't have that up in front of me. I'd have to look. If you want to wait a few minutes, I'll pull it up. Actually, I'm pulling it up right now. We budgeted for, well, we're talking about the swim team, correct?
Yes.
We budgeted for a swim team coach and a swim team assistant, one.
Just one assistant.
We budgeted for a synchro coach and 1 synchro assistant. That's it.
Didn't we had 2 years ago 2 assistants? I thought we always had 2.
Yeah, I see. I thought we did too. I didn't get a chance to double check that as well.
This is what we had. This is the same thing I ran past you last fall when I showed you the budget. I gave you that sheet that had all the salaries on, if you remember, and the positions. So,
all right. I guess that.
I mean, you know, personally, maybe this is just my headache talking. people need to pay attention when we do the budget. Now, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about staff and people like the rec board maybe, or whoever is controlling that, Lynn or Cindy or somebody need to pay attention whenever we finally get this stuff done. That's why I go through this process. I don't do it because I enjoy it, because anymore I don't. I do it because I want input and I need the facts. And, it's not like this was all done in secret. I'm not saying you folks are saying that or criticizing it. I'm just saying that needs to be, people need to be on top of that. And then at the last minute, all of a sudden, oh, by the way, we could do this. Well, that's fine. Find me the money in the budget then. I'm done. Thank you. Goodbye. I'm going back to enjoy my headache.
So next then,
Wait, Tom, before you move on, Steve, is it, I know it wasn't in the budget, and I know that, I know we didn't account for it. Is it something that we could possibly look into? The only reason I'm bringing this up is because if the kids are back and having that extra hand to try to keep the kids apart and separated, I guess, during the practices and stuff, may be helpful. I'm not saying yes to do it or not to do it, but if we could look into that and see how much it would be to add that, maybe that would be possible.
We can always look into finding money. That's not a problem. The question is, where are we going to have any impact from COVID? Hopefully not. We were okay more or less last year. But at the same time, I'd like to say to people sometimes, this is what you got because this is what you didn't do. So live with it. I mean, I know that's
talking about $2,000, or it's not much.
I don't care if it's $100. I mean, this is, that's my personal opinion and my headache talking. I'm sorry. I'm going back to sleep here. Goodbye.
But no, if you look at your budget, was it like $2,000, something like that? It's not.
It's a few thousand, yeah. I mean,
it's not a lot. So
whatever it's, obviously it's whatever you want to do. You're asking my opinion. I'm sorry. Whatever you want to do is fine. Help me find the money. That's not a problem. I don't have a problem with it.
I have to say, I agree with Steve, because we do inquire and ask and, go through a very detailed round of budget development. And I think people really need to start thinking ahead a little bit. We also turn down many requests, and compromise on things that we might like to put more money into, like replanting the trees. We asked for money to replace the 30 trees that are being taken out, and it was declined. And so, that's $1,000 here, $1,000 there, but we did ask and we were turned down for that. We also asked for additional money for things like paying an intern, and that was turned down as well. So I think, if the staff is interested in having more support for things, they need to really get serious about asking for them.
all right. The next thing I had on the tennis courts, it's kind of already resolved. I guess there were a bunch of complaints about the condition of the tennis courts. Lynn got with my dad. They kind of talked about a few options, kind of to keep up on the maintenance up there a little bit more. And Cindy's involved too. So they're going to kind of try to get on that a little bit better, keep them in a little bit better shape for the people that are paying and trying to use them. And that comes into after our last conversation, the next item that was brought up, which no matter what, I already know we're not going to do anything till next year because it's part of the fee resolution. But there were a lot of questions brought up about the amount of people that are actually paying to use the tennis courts and the amount of money that we're charging for them. And as we're moving forward, they're getting older, their condition's getting worse. We're not going to be able to get anybody new to try to play, is if it's worth, either reducing the fee greatly to try to get people to actually play tennis, or going back to being free what it used to be, I believe, before the courts were updated. So that's another item. Kind of keep talking over, at least thinking about. If anyone has an opinion on that, we could try to get some use out of those courts besides them just sitting there kind of rotting away up there.
Have we had any discussion at any time about whether resurfacing and upgrading the existing tennis courts and basketball courts would be a better use of money than adding additional double pit pickleball courts? I know the pickleball is a considerably hot item, but you know, we can't defer maintenance indefinitely on things that we already have if it's discouraging use.
Oh no, that's definitely part of it, is keeping up on them. Which, I mean, I think we are a little bit. I just think keeping, you know, competition quality tennis courts is kind of on the much higher end maintenance wise than pretty much probably any other sport we could come up with.
Yep.
That's kind of, that goes along with that we don't have a tennis team again this year. This will be, I think, the second year in a row. Won't have a tennis team. So they're kind of trying to figure out ways we can get more use out of those courts, just because they do cost, you know, they cost the borough. I believe it was grant money, but it's a lot of money in maintenance and that we're putting into that.
How many people actually use the tennis court? Do we know? Are they?
I wanted to get a rough number from Cindy of the number of passes that were sold last year. I think the rec board, we didn't know offhand, but they thought it was a very, very small number. I just kind of want to check to see what the exact number is.
Okay.
I think anybody have anything else on any of those items? I think that's all I have. Frank, I'll get with you. We can get together with Keith and figure out this pool situation. And I think that is all. If no one has anything else. Dave?
Thank you. The first item is that the CITF grant for the pool area, the electrical upgrade, that contract has been awarded and work should begin within the next month. We're in the process of getting contracts signed, bonds and insurance filed. And the next item is the pickleball court. We did include the resurfacing of the court in our paving project, which will be awarded this month. We will need a decision sometime, not before the award, but we will need a decision at some point on whether we're going to have 2 pickleball courts or 1 court and leave the other half as basketball. That's really up to you when you decide that, because the paving is not dependent on that. Paving is just going to be paving the whole court. And then at some point in the future, you can decide when you're ready to include, or when you're ready to install the nets for pickleball and the line painting for pickleball, then that's when you need to make that decision. And the lines for basketball, if that's still to be included. But as I said, that's not part of the paving contract. That's just something that the borough can do on their own and get quotes and do. So that decision doesn't have to be. I just didn't see there was a survey. It wasn't real decisive. It was pretty close. So whenever that decision's made, let us know.
Okay, thanks. That was one thing I was going to mention, Dave, about last night, because I thought you needed an answer. So I kind of polled the rec board last night. Was going to poll everybody tonight about what they thought. But I mean, if you don't need that yet, we don't really have to worry about that tonight.
Yeah, we don't need that yet. I think Jim Thielacker has something to say.
Yeah, the only thing, hey, Dave, I was talking to Joe, and we sort of just need to know before the paving starts what the plans are from council on whether we're going to leave any basketball hoops up in Cook Park or whether we're going to take them all down, because that we have to remove those, the Public Works Department, and we need to do that before paving starts.
Oh, okay.
We want to talk about that real quick then. I had a discussion with the rec board last night, and I guess a few of them were out there talking to neighbors, talking to people in the park. They kind of used the information from that poll a little bit. Obviously, it was, we believe, kind of skewed towards more pickleball. But even with that, it was kind of an even split, pretty much 50-50. So they're my thoughts. And then they were in agreement that they thought the best option would be to do half and half, a pickleball court and a basketball hoop.
I agree.
It doesn't really matter to me either way. I don't know what everybody else's opinions are.
I agree.
And I just think with us adding one pickleball, and the amount of conversations on Nextdoor, I believe when Frank and I both discussed this and brought this up a while back, probably last summer now, the amount of people that are interested in, I hesitate because then there's going to be one court, and then there's going to be like a waiting line down there to get on the court. So that's the only reason why I had suggested doing two, if we could fit two. Although Tom bringing up the point of maybe converting one of the tennis courts at the Forest Hills pool to pickleball is I think a very good option for down the road the next time that that's resurfaced. So either way, I think my opinion would be to do two at Cook, but I'm fine with leaving one pickleball and one basketball if we do think down the road. If we do think down the road that we'll be adding another one possibly at the pool.
I think that adding one and seeing how it goes, and I think if you find that, people are clamoring to get in there and use another one, we can establish another one at a different location as we need to. I think this is an experiment, and, I hate to deprive a basketball area when there is demand for that as well.
I agree. I think we
We're
should.
overwhelmingly, clear in one direction or another, but that survey was pretty much half and half, plus or minus 2 people. So I think it would be better to, take a step in that direction and see what happens.
I agree. I think we should be more flexible to do that.
Dave, I think there you have it, huh?
Okay. That's council's direction. That's what we'll do. The only other item I have is that, just to inform you that we did submit, sorry, my dog's growling at me. We did submit a CITF grant application for improvements to the pool and lodge. Normally those grants are awarded in May, June, and July. However, I did hear from another community today that they felt that they were getting some money for their grant application, so they may be making decisions in April. The Redevelopment Authority, which is the one that awards these, meets, I believe, the 4th Thursday of the month. So possibly later this month, we'll know whether we're getting that or not, or it may be deferred into a future month. But they don't award them all in 1 month. So if we don't get it in April, there's still a possibility of May or June. That's all I have to report.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Jim?
The first item is I started getting bids for repairs of the fence at the ball fields and behind the Westinghouse Lodge. And I've got one so far. I got to get 2 more. And then the other item is we're going to be starting to get ready to get the pool ready. And we're going to have to paint it this year. And we're going to do the joint repair inspection here coming up real soon. And the boiler, I was able to locate a company that specializes in the boiler that's up in our pool. But we have to have water in the pool first. So once we do, then they're going to come in and repair it. They asked me some questions, and it sounds like we're still okay. We can get it fixed. So hopefully we're not going to need it replaced. So that's it. Anybody have any questions?
Nope. That's all. Patty, you have the Rotary Labyrinth issue?
I don't know if they came. I don't see the lady who wanted to talk about it on the list, but I understand that the Rotary would like to donate a walking meditation labyrinth, and I guess they're going to require about a 30 square foot area, circular area in one of our parks on a fairly flat surface. And they would contribute, they said, the installation and the maintenance for it. I don't know much else about what's entailed other than, leveling and having it, placing stones and sand, and have a patterned labyrinth. I thought she was going to be at the meeting, but maybe she wasn't able to sign up in time. I know she emailed back and forth a couple of times, but that's as much as I know about it. I don't know if there would be interest in that or who she might talk to find out what the options might be, or if you're even interested in doing that.
Actually, last night, Mr. Dove came to the
Oh,
rec
he
board
did.
meeting,
Okay,
but I got there late, so I missed the very tail end of his presentation to them. So he kind of wanted to go to them first to kind of ask recommendations. You know, is there any place that might be good? Do you think people would like it? Things of that nature.
yeah, so
And,
I guess the rec board is considering it. Why don't we let them mull it over and make a recommendation to us later?
Sounds good. Yeah, he was going to get back to them with more information. They were going to think about it. They were also starting to kind of get in cahoots with the Boy Scouts about helping be involved with it as well. So they were working over a number of things, and they were going to kind of come back to them and then probably come to us,
Okay.
after that if necessary.
Okay. Well, I'll probably hear about it tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. They meet at 7 in the morning on Wednesdays, so. I don't know what you think about it. I have seen labyrinths in other places. There's one down at the waterfront that commemorates all of the steel mills that once operated on both sides of the river down in the waterfront area. But I know a couple of us go down there and weed it a couple of times a year, and it's always overgrown to the point of pain. So depending on how they design it, they can require a good bit of maintenance. So I would think we should request that it either be made in such a way that it can be mowed over with just regular mowing equipment, or that they would commit to making some sort of interstitial space that is permeable but not weed prone, so that it doesn't get overgrown if that isn't used heavily.
All right. Yeah, definitely something to keep in mind.
Okay.
And with that, anybody else have any other questions or anything for borough property? I don't have anything else, I don't believe.
Okay, give me a couple of seconds and I'll go to ops.
Okay. Start when you're ready.
Ready?
Night, everyone.
Hi, Dave.
Okay, Mr. Lawrence, I'm good to start.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
I'm going to share my screen for this first part because last month, if you recall, I brought up the idea that we've already started considering reopening the office. And I had this note at the top here that you see, thinking about maybe doing it in May. And after discussing this with Keith Morris, and by the way, let me go through all this. I have a lot of notes here. You're going to be able to read these. I'm not going to talk about all this stuff, so don't worry about that. I did talk with Keith Morris, and tentatively we estimate we may be able to open by June 1st, possibly also have meetings starting sometime in June. And while it may seem like there's a lot of time to do that, I think that we're still pretty quick. Now, I do not plan on opening the office until I feel it is safe to do so. But it seems like it is getting safer and safer as we go. And I am going to use Keith as a guide, and of course, talk to you folks about it too. But once again, my bottom line is I'll open it when I feel it's safe. Now, as far as everything else is concerned, that's going to be more up to you. But just to be clear, we already have worked on a lot of plans. We started last summer thinking about reopening, and then this COVID spiked, and we thought about it again in the fall, and it spiked again. So who knows? Anything I tell you right now could be obsolete by mid-May, as I say here. But what I've done is put together a list of some rules and regulations that you can read on your own. I'm not going to go over it. For opening the office, things I would require of staff and people coming into the office if we were to do that. I put on here some suggestions about meetings. And my suggestion first would be, if we do start meetings in June, I would suggest you wait until the business meeting to actually do it. But I have some suggestions here and about rules for meetings as far as how many people and all that. And again, it's hard to know because this is changing so quickly with the vaccination. It's very possible that a lot of what we're worried about will be moot, or it's possible that a lot of what we're worried about is only the tip of the iceberg and it will get worse. We just don't know right now. But you can take a look at these suggestions. I'm not going to go over all of them. And I did speak with the library staff that's there. I did not talk to Erin yet. So I'm not going to go into detail on it because I talked with her staff and it's not fair to her to go into that. But I do have a few notes from that discussion. What I would like to talk about is the 4 or 5 points I have here under general things. I think whenever we're talking about reopening, we have to consider what the restrictions are that remain. And again, it's hard to know right now based on what restrictions will be on June 1st. But if let's say we have the same restrictions we have now, we're not able to constantly sanitize things. We have a part-time crew. So that's one reason why some of the restrictions I have under office opening are what they are up above. I would not, for example, have the restrooms open to the public. I would not want the library to have the restrooms open to the public either. There also has to be limits based on what we know now on how many people can occupy space. So who's going to monitor that and how are we going to enforce that? Especially if we're going to open up for meetings, how are we going to enforce that? Now, there are different ways you can do that. I'm not asking you to answer these questions. I'm just saying these are things we need to think about, okay? Mr. Tomasic and I talked, he had an excellent idea actually about continuing the Zoom, putting meetings on Zoom and live streaming them. Now, there may be a better way of doing that. I have to talk with people like Angelo and Mike Joseph and other people. I already have talked with Hollywood, who did our AV here in the building, and they're looking at some information for me as well. But live streaming, we need to see, do we require any additional equipment? Is that easy to do? Or does that mean that I'm going to be sitting at a table in the council room with 2 or 3 computers trying to type multiple things all at one time? I don't know. And of course, that depends on, what the requirements are by the time we get to June. That's one reason, though, with meetings, I'm suggesting let's have the committee meetings as Zoom meetings so we can discuss some of this. And then for the June business meeting, if you're able to open, go ahead and do that. But we have to consider that. And if we open, I would suggest, again, do not have the restrooms open, at least not at first for the public. Tell them if they come in, they're coming into the meeting and then they're leaving when the meeting's over. If we're going to do things like live streaming and recording, though, something that has been a problem for me in that room, and I've brought this up many times, I'm going to bring it up again, is I need people definitely to talk into the microphone. If we're going to do a hybrid meeting or something, people are not going to be able to hear people who are not talking into the microphone. They're not going to be able to hear you. It won't record. It won't go on live stream. It'll be a problem. We do have a small sound problem in that room right now that we're looking to fix. Since we're not there, we're taking our time with it, but Hollywood's working with us on that. And I would also recommend, if you're going to go to a full opening or a partial opening, tell the boards like Rec Board and Planning Commission to still meet virtually, at least for now. Again, I'm concerned about cleaning and sanitizing. We have 2 part-time custodians. That would be a concern of mine. So those are things, again, I'm not asking you to answer now. I'm just saying these are things you need to consider when you're talking about starting meetings. These are things the library needs to consider when they're considering opening. It's not like going to Edgewood Library where you have room. There's a narrow opening, a narrow entrance, a little vestibule, a small room they can go into, but depending on what the spacing requirements are, you may not be able to fit very many people in there for an extended period of time. As far as the office is concerned, I intend to handle that. And believe me, I want to open as soon as we can, but I also want to make sure we all feel safe when we do that. So what I'm asking you to do is look at some of those things I put on the list. If you have any questions for me now about what I'm saying, I'll be happy to try to answer them right now before we go on to my next point. But I think we need to think about this. And right now our target date is June. Marcus? I can't hear you, Marcus. You're muted.
Yes, sorry. All the yellow and bold sections, I just want to make sure clear if I understand it. You will base your decision based on CDC, county, Keith Moore's guidelines, not on your personal choice. Or I don't understand what that means.
What I mean is we'll follow whatever the directions are
Yeah.
by the government,
Okay.
or
I want to make
that's all I
sure
mean.
that you meant that. Okay.
No, that's all I mean. Nothing more than that. Bill?
Okay. Excuse me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I met with Mr. Morse and we had Keith on the phone the other day. And basically what I tried to present was the fact that, well, we have different groups working together individually, and then we should all come together in terms of an information and communication basis for everything that's going on. For example, the mayor's going to take care of the police, the rec board, and Tom and the mayor and so on are going to be working with the pool. Steve's going to be doing the public works and the office, so that whenever any final decisions are made, they should be communicated to the manager so he can communicate that to all of the council members, so everybody's aware of what is going on before it's announced to the general public. We also talked about breaking this down into the building versus the meeting. When we went to the Zoom last year, before we did, we had to set up a whole set of protocols. And basically we said that most of those would just fall back into place. Talking about if people want to come to the meeting, they would have to have a reservation. We would have a certain number of people, et cetera, et cetera. I think you're all familiar with that from the last time. And then Mr. Morse, I think we had control of the building with Chuck at the door, et cetera. So I don't think that we'll run into any problems with that should we decide to do that. And we did agree basically to look at June as being the time frame. And as Mr. Moore said, the Zoom meetings for the first 2 committee meetings, and then trying to maybe go in person. And this is, we did not set anything in stone here. This is all up in the air. We said, well, we would like to shoot for the general meeting, the public meeting, to be the first in-person event. But that doesn't have to happen. I don't think there's any necessity to do that. And that might even give Mr. Morse, I was hoping that we could do a combination of hybrid so that we could, since we have the Zoom license, I believe, we could continue to try to use the Zoom so that, and trust me, I have no idea what can be done or what can't. I was just hopeful that we would still be able to somehow include the Zoom, and that might take Mr. Morse out of the room during the meeting, but he could, we could work here and he could work there, however it's set up. And as he said, talking to Angelo and others to try to get something going. I just like the idea of the Zoom as being a permanent record for the meetings. I think that's fantastic, that anybody can go on and watch anytime they want to the meeting that's already occurred. So anyways, those are the general things we talked about when we discussed it.
I'd like to also add too, I don't know how, I have to learn how hybrid would work and how well it would work, but I do know that if we have a majority, let's say of council in the council meeting room, I can project the Zoom meeting on the screens that are in there. Now, it depends on where I'm located. If I'm in here, I can't. If there's a computer in there, though, we can. And so you'd be able to see people. Now, any other hybrid version, I would not want somebody calling in on that phone in there. We tried that once. That was a mistake. Or on a cell phone or something like that. First, it's not going to record easily. And second, you have no way of controlling it. And now you're talking about confusing things that don't need to be confused because you're not required to do that. You can be open as much as you can, but there has to be a limit on that sooner or later. But we are looking at what kind of equipment we might be able to use to be able to continue to do that and maybe live stream indefinitely. I did one last thing and then I'll stop. I did, when we built this building, ask them to put conduit in so that we could eventually put television cameras in the wall above the council room. Now, I don't know for sure where they're located. I need to look at the plans, but you're talking about a whole nother problem with that. That's something way more expensive. I don't think we're ready for anything near that right now. Plus, you have to get the cooperation of cable. Plus, you have to have your own operations here. Certainly, it would be via computer, but still it would require some space and room and somebody with knowledge. But that is there. and probably I'll be long gone before you're able to do that. But, you know, regardless, that is set up that way.
Okay.
I can just report that the Alcoasand Advisory Board was doing hybrid meetings where they had at least the staff and a couple of people, the chairman and a couple of members in present, and then everyone else either calling or zooming in. It was an unmitigated disaster. They had a really hard time keeping track of who wanted to talk and who was there. They kept losing connectivity. And so they went to a complete Zoom platform for everybody, and it worked a lot better. I think the hybrid systems require a lot more sophisticated equipment than either in-person meetings or Zoom, all Zoom, because getting the two systems to, you know, the chair has a responsibility to find out who wants to speak. You can't see them. It really got to be a mess.
Well,
So
that's also a problem. It could take
yeah,
meeting control out of the hands of Mr. Tomasic, which
Yeah.
you don't want to do. You want to have that in the hands of the president, so it's still under some control. But, you know, we'd have to see we'd have to try and see what would work.
Okay.
Jack, if I may, very quickly.
Yes.
My intent upon the hybrid was not to have interaction as we do now from people outside. They would simply be observers. If you wanted to participate, you would have to get a reservation and come in person. So you wouldn't have those outside people calling in, raising hands, etc. That would only take place in person at the meeting. The Zoom would be
I
more
think
of
what
a
you're bringing up
recording effort.
Yeah, I think what you're bringing up is a very good idea because, interestingly, I spoke with a citizen the other day, and they said they've never attended anything about council, and then I guess because they're stuck at home, they say, you know, we've gone online and just watched them. So in the terms of hybrid, meaning you can watch it in real time, that's relatively simple. And I think it's a nice thing that we learned from this whole pandemic. Moving forward, the only thing I'll add in is in terms of moving back on ground in terms of any of the committee or business meetings, I would say we've been doing this for a year. I think the constituents are pretty much used to it. They're if they have questions, they're figuring out how to do it. So I would not want to change horses and then have to change horses again if things went south in the middle of the summer. So I'd be willing to be more conservative and keep everything as it is until we're really, really comfortable, because we're going to have to explain to all the citizens, okay, this is how you participate now. And then a month later, we have to go back and that would just upset. People are accustomed now to what we're doing is my point. So let's keep that until we really are comfortable with moving to the next stage. Any thoughts other than that? That's all my only contribution.
Can I say something? I agree with both Patty and Jack. I think hybrid doesn't work because it doesn't, logistically, it's hard to do. Like my old company, they had like a $50,000 conference room system, which was designed for that. And it does work because then the camera automatically focuses on the person who speaks. But you know, we don't want to spend $50,000. So I don't think hybrid with the technology we have available works. So we either should do Zoom or in person. And I agree with Jack, we are not in a rush. So we can just keep going until, we don't have to switch by June or July. We don't have to have a fake deadline for that.
Can I say one more thing, Mr. Lawrence? I agree with Patty and Marcus and Bill on that. The hybrid thing is going to be difficult. I did ask Hollywood, though, would it be possible for us to station a computer in that room, focus a camera on you folks at the table, and then just use Zoom to get the information out, like Bill was saying, to residents to watch. Anybody who wanted to be here to speak would have to be here, make a reservation, and come and speak. But anybody else would be able to still see us on YouTube or watch it on Zoom. And Hollywood seemed to be, they're looking at it, they're looking to see what the cost would be about us doing a few things. I have to talk again, like I said, to Mike and Angelo as well, but they were optimistic they could work something out, and I'll let you know as we proceed with that.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing, Mr. Lawrence? I agree with Patty and Marcus and Bill on that. The hybrid thing is going to be difficult. I did ask Hollywood, though, would it be possible for us to station a computer in that room, focus a camera on you folks at the table, and then just use Zoom to get the information out, like Bill was saying, to residents to watch. Anybody who wanted to be here to speak would have to be here, make a reservation, and come and speak. But anybody else would be able to still see us on YouTube or watch it on Zoom. And I have to talk again, like I said, to Mike and Angelo as well, but they were optimistic they could work something out, and I'll let you know as we proceed with that. You know what, did we lose Jack? I don't see him on here. I had a couple more quick items. So I'm just going to mention, there's a list still of committee vacancies. We're looking to fill some committees. Jack, I think Jack is back now. We're looking still to fill some committees, and I have a list on there. It's the same list I gave you last month. And this is also because now we have alternates on certain committees, so there is space on some of them. And we're interested in getting people to join. If anyone is watching us on YouTube and you'd like to volunteer for a committee, more than likely there is space. And then the ALOM conference has been moved to June, and they're going to try to do it in person. And everybody in your mailbox has the flyer. And it's set up pretty similar to the way it's been in the past. The dates are June 17th to the 20th. And this flyer is in your mailbox that has all the information in there. It's going to be set up the way they have before. I don't have any information. I'm going to assume, though, that if we want to maintain our status as a banner community, that they're going to expect we're going to be represented there, assuming they're able to go forward with that in a safe manner. So I just want to call that to your attention. There is still time, but it's set for June 17th to the 20th. This is in your mailbox up here at the municipal building. That's all I have.
I am planning to attend. So I don't know if we are going to have a table or anywhere to put out information, but you know, let me know if you want me to do that. I don't know if anyone else is going, but I will definitely plan to go.
I don't have anything else to report. Maybe Jack isn't back. Jack, are you? There he is.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't have anything else to add. I'm not sure what I missed when I dropped off, but
I just finished my report about committee vacancies and the conference, the ALOM conference in June. The only other item that's on here is citizen engagement. If you want, I can talk about that.
Please.
Yeah, just let everyone know that we did get the intern.
Yes.
The person's been made an offer, and we can move forward with that.
He's accepted. I'm going to talk with him just to get some preliminaries out of the way, and then Angelo and Jack and I are going to meet later this month to talk about that and how we're going to go about doing it. The big requirement is the intern has to be supervised, but I think we have enough supervision between Angelo and myself and the office staff. The biggest hassle, in which local government academy is aware of, is going to be how open we are and what the restrictions are as far as working from home versus being in the office. We're still going through that here in the office. Some people occasionally working from home, including me once in a while, and other people in the office, but separated, and everybody with masks. I don't have my Duquesne mask here, I'm sorry, but anyway, everybody with masks and social distancing. Everyone's been real cooperative. We're encouraging people to get vaccinated, et cetera. So hopefully this new intern, the intern will be able to be in a normal office environment, but we're going to work that out too.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say about the intern though.
I do.
Okay. I don't have anything else to add either.
May I just report on our interns that we've had? We've had 2 sets of interns and 2 study teams working with us this last semester. The interns are going to be reporting out at the Environment Advisory Council meeting if any of you are interested, and I will give you their written reports out of that meeting. We have a proposal for outreach on residential energy conservation and fuel switching that is consistent with our first stage of our climate action plan. And that will be going to the Environment Advisory Council on the 15th. And Blake Martin has done a proposal for an eco-district zoning overlay in our business district with several really interesting proposals on some very intractable problems that we've had for a while. That will dovetail with a potential complete streets grant later this year. And you may want to see that one in some detail. If you would like to have either of these presentations at council, you need to let me know because they're going to be ending their semester by the end of the month. And I will not be on the April 21st council business meeting myself. So I'm giving a speech that night, so I won't be there.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything else for ops and policies. Steve, are you done? Anybody else?
I'm done.
Members?
Anybody? All right, I'm going to end the meeting then, stop recording and end the meeting. And next Tuesday night is the next set of committees. So good night, everybody.